Hey everybody, how are you? It's Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, at least on the East Coast. So it's time for Paranormal Lens. Jamie, how are you?
Well, it's not 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so it's dinner time here, I guess. I'm good, good. It was a couple days of travel and a little bit of excitement out here. Folks, I'm in Las Vegas this week for work, but the show must go on. So, um, welcome to the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. So, here we are. This is our the first time we've been out of the area of each other, Chad. So, hey, our
Yeah.
technology still works.
Yep.
This is so cool.
Yep. I was always
What
scared
was
to
the
try
week?
it when I was on vacation. So, I mean, you're not on vacation. I know. I know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you might say that. I mean, it's Las Vegas, really.
I, I mean, and you did have a Sunday evening fun
I
time.
did.
So,
I did. I really did. I
so
will. I will tell you this. I said this last week. I was planning to go to the Raider game for Sunday Night Football against the Jets. As I coordinated my travel to get here in time, plenty of time to do it, and I did. Um, if anyone's ever in Las Vegas and it's a game day, go to the game. I don't care if you're a Raiders fan or not, and I'm not by any means. Oh my gosh, what an experience! What an atmosphere! Vegas knows how to party. So, and they pulled out all the stops for that game. So, oh, it was so much fun. My ears are still ringing. It was the most loud event I've ever been at, including some significantly loud concerts. Um, and the Raider Nation is they're a bunch of crazy people. So it was fun. It
okay.
was a lot of fun.
So,
Anyway, that's not why we're here.
no, we're here to talk about ITC. Do you know what it is, Jamie?
Um, I want to say it's like Illinois Tool Company or um,
No, no, not quite.
no, not that. No, I have no idea. To be completely
It's
honest.
it's a lot. It's on a lot of our tools of the trade.
Okay.
We'll go that far. It's instrumental transcommunication.
Okay.
Okay, so you break
That was
that down.
close.
Yeah,
That was close. No.
no, no, no. Anyway, so you break that down. Instrumental, using an instrument.
Okay.
Transcommunication is communication with the spirit world. So using an instrument to communicate with the spirit world. And it's technically defined as communications through any sort of electronic device between spirits and the living.
Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, great. So I want to clarify though that this means direct communication with either words or sounds. Because when I first read it, I'm like, oh, does that mean my flashlight or my K2 meter is a ITC device? Not in the way we would consider it. It's so my interpretation of this question is no. You have to get direct responses in either words or sounds. So that's the premise we're going to go on for tonight, and we'll see what I discovered. Sound
Okay.
good?
Yeah.
So where did the idea of direct communication with spirits come from? Believe it or not, with the advent of recording devices going back to 1877, two pioneers of the recording and radio industry, Thomas Edison and Guglielmo Marconi, believed that these devices could be used to make contact with the living impaired, as Thomas Edison put it. I sort of like that term.
So,
Um,
PC.
um, and and then Sir William Crookes and Sir Oliver Lodge. Um, Crookes was the inventor of the cathode ray tube, and Lodge was a leading contributor to radio technology. Both believed that when people passed into the next world, they just moved into a different wavelength. So they were just at a different vibrational wavelength, which is interesting. So now, when I mentioned Thomas Edison, did you equate his name as a paranormal enthusiast?
I did not.
I would have said inventor, things like that, but no, he was a paranormal enthusiast. There was a story that he published that he was actually working on a device that was called the Edison telephone to the dead. Unfortunately, when he died in 1931, he hadn't been successful in his attempts, so he never got to call home from the other side. Um, but his
You know why,
works,
Chad?
why is
Chad,
that?
that's because it's a long distance call.
It would have been outrageous back then. Anyway, so his work was based on the belief that consciousness carries on after death. And he said, If our personality survives, then it is strictly logical or scientific to assume that it retains memory, intellect, other faculties, and knowledge that we acquire in this earth. Therefore, if we can evolve an instrument so delicate as to be affected by our personality as it survives in the next life, such an instrument, when made available, ought to record something. So
All right,
people just take
to buy that.
a very scientific look at this stuff. So, I, um, Friedrich Jurgensen, who was living in Sweden, is believed to be the first person to be able to make this recording that Edison alluded to. He was a painter and an opera singer. In 1957, he bought a tape recorder to record his singing. He started noticing that his recording was being played back. He appeared to sense some strange phenomena. Due to his artistic skills, he believed he had a heightened visual and aural sense. He started noticing strange fade-ins and fade-outs in his recordings, as well as absent recognition and telepathic messages while listening to the recordings. In June of 1959, Friedrich took his recorder to a summer home to record the birds in the wild. While listening to the recording, he heard noises that shouldn't have been there. It sounded like, as he described it, a vibrating of a storm, only the faint chirping of the birds that he had. So he assumed that some of the tubes, because back in that day, these devices would have used tubes, and they got damaged very easily. He assumed that some of the tubes had been damaged, but he continued to listen to the tape. And he said he heard what sounded like a trumpet fanfare that was like an introduction. Like when the kings and queens have a fanfare, he said it sounded like that. Next, he heard a man speaking Norwegian. The voice was very quiet, but could be heard clearly. The voice spoke of nightly bird voices. Then, as quickly as the noise had started, it stopped. He could hear the chirping of the birds that he had originally been intending to record, as if nothing happened. So Jurgens continued to record and study the voices. At first, he assumed that these voices were from space, or friends from space, as he put it. But soon he came to believe that the voices were from the other side. Um, so, sorry. The turning point for him was probably the day that he experienced the following. I was outside with a tape recorder recording bird songs. When I listened through the tape, a voice was heard to say, Friedel, can you hear me? It's Mammy. It was my dead mother's voice. Friedel was her special nickname for me. So Jurgensen started his process with only the recorder and the microphone. He would set it up in an empty room, ask questions, and then replay the tape. Often he would have to play the tape back at a slower speed to be able to understand the recording. He would hear voices in Swedish, German, Russian, English, and Italian. He was fluent in all these languages. In the spring of 1960, one of the voices told him to use the radio as a medium. Once he figured out how to connect the radio and the microphone to the tape recorder, he was able to have real-time conversations with the other side. He focused on the frequencies between 1445 and 1500 kilohertz. These frequencies are what we call the AM band. The AM frequency of 1485 kilohertz is now called the Jurgensen frequency. He continued to do this until his death in 1987. Over the years, he made thousands of recordings, gave lectures, and wrote several books. Some of his recordings can be found on a rare CD called From the Studio for Audioscopic Research. Being rare, I wasn't able to get my hands on one, but if you want to listen to it, it's been shared on YouTube, and you can listen to it there. It's broken down into all, I think it's like 20 tracks that he's recorded over the years. So that was sort of interesting. Let's see. The next big name in ITC is Marcello Bacci. Bacci started in 1974 and he worked for about 20 years. Bacci used a shortwave radio and gave public performances of his work in his studio in Grosseto, Italy. Now, interestingly, his studio had been used for seances in years before. His method was called direct radio voice, or DRV. No one knows how Bacci's radio worked, though he did use a shortwave radio with valves tuned to about between 6 and 7.5 megahertz, and he would tune it to a white noise. When a communication would come through, the noise would quiet and the voice came through. When the message was done, the noise would return. As many people do today, people tried to debunk his work, but the results were always the same. Even when he was set up inside a Faraday cage, um, and did his demonstration inside a Faraday cage. Now, I don't know if you know what a Faraday cage is, but it's a cage that doesn't allow any radio or electronic signals to pass through it. So there shouldn't have been anything coming through. So it shouldn't have worked, but it did. So it's interesting. Um, there was a documentary done. I'm not sure what year it was, but the entire documentary was produced in Italian. It's about an hour long. Now, I was lucky enough to find a subtitled version of it that I'm going to play now, Jamie. I hope that's okay. Or at least I'm going to play the intro.
Sure.
How's that?
Do it.
All right, here's the intro. Now,
Sei lui?
Guarda che ci sono, e io sono qui davanti a te. Per cui anche per quelli che non credono, certamente questo spirito può parlare. La morte è un passaggio irripetibile di verità dell'imprevisione. Si ritrova che questo cuore, le fatture, il corpo di persona vera, c'è qualcosa.
so that's how his thing worked. I don't know. I just found it pretty interesting.
It's amazing. First of all, should it be accurate and true? And it is every investigator's dream, I think, to have such clarity and context in an EVP, for lack of a better way of calling it,
Mm-hmm.
that he experienced there, not just once, but apparently three exchanges.
Right.
Amazing. Wow.
Right. And we're lucky if we get we'll touch on it a little bit later in an EVP if we get a word or two, but to have full sentences is pretty amazing.
In context sentences. I mean, there was intent in the phrases.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think you'll find some of the other stuff that we're going to talk about later really interesting then, Jamie, if that's
Yeah,
we'll get there. So
cool.
Anyways, we could spend a long time talking about Bocce's work because he did do 20 years worth of it, but then we wouldn't get to talk about anything else. So let's put a pin in Bocce for now, and we'll come back to this in a bit. We're gonna jump.
I want to make a joke about bocce balls here too. By the way, I'm biting my tongue now.
We're gonna jump to some more modern day ITC method. Frank Sumption in 2002 developed what we have come to know as the Franks box. The Franks box has developed into what we know now as spirit boxes or ghost boxes, spirit radios, all those sorts of things. One of the most popular ones today probably would be the PSB7. The way these devices work is by quickly scanning the AM or FM radio for spectrums. It's sort of like when you have your car scan for frequencies to find the next good station, but it never locks on. The idea is to listen for words between the static. The duration that each station can be played can be varied. Most devices can hold for 1/100th of a second up to a second. You don't want to hear what is being broadcast by radio towers, so sometimes detuning the device or using it in an area where there are no radio signals is better. So we've used this one before in investigations and I've seen people have some luck with it, some better than others. It all depends. Another method that is used with this device is something we'll call a backwards box. This is one that our friend Chris Mendez has come up with and created. This method uses what is known as a reverse pedal. It's typically used by guitarists to change the sound of a guitar. The signal is fed into a memory buffer, delayed, and then played back in reverse. The theory is nothing that comes out should be intelligible. If you hear words or phrases, something had to manipulate them so that we would be able to understand them. Like I said, Chris built this device and has used it on several of our investigations. I have a quick example of what it may sound like. This recording, and I'm not going to play the intro again. This recording was from White Hill Mansion a few weeks ago and was recorded by my friend Albert Lynch. So see if what you hear, Jamie. That wasn't Chad, was it?
I thought it said Chad help.
Chad help. Could you hear it? I mean, it's fairly quiet.
Oh, bear with me. I'm on laptop speakers,
Uh-huh.
so I don't have headphones on, but there's something there for sure.
Basically, when it first started, there were 2 syllable or 2 words, and listening to it in person, I said to Chris, I'm like, did that say Chad? And he was like, I think it said Chad help. And then as he was saying that again, it said help again. So I'll play it again. It's only a couple seconds, so let me just play it and see if you hear it this time. That wasn't Chad, was it?
I thought it said Chad help.
Chad help. So I don't know.
That's the spirit obviously read those billboards around our area that says you need Chad, right? For the law guy. So
yep. So anyway, it's just a little weird when you think you hear your name come through a device like that.
Yeah, I relate to that. I had it happen to me at the Haldeman when I asked who's in the room, and clearly that's Jamie, and I get it, when names are said, most common names, like I can't imagine what it's like having a normal name,
Right.
because like Bill, there's a gazillion Bills in the world, but there aren't that many Jamies, or at least not usually together. And so when you hear a name like your name come out like that, it's very unique. It was quite off-putting and frankly, kind of surprising. So
yeah,
and it was awesome too.
So I do want to say with those devices, they're usually set up with a delay or an echo or a reverb.
Yep.
So that's why everything in that clip you hear twice.
Yes.
And that sort of helps. What's that?
I was gonna say that helps, with retention to the capture, hearing it again and the echo allows you to make sure it was an actual item to capture, whether it's versus just static or something else.
Right.
Yep. The tool of the trade, trick of the trade.
All right. So with spirit boxes, and here's some different versions out there. There are several ways to investigate with them. You can listen to them directly and ask questions and listen for responses like we did in that clip. Another method is referred to as the Estes method. In this method, it's when the radio is connected to noise-canceling headphones. The listener is put in a sensory deprivation state with a blindfold, noise-canceling headphones, and typically isolated by themselves. The person asking questions asks them in another room. When the listener hears or feels anything, they speak it out loud. The idea with this method is to remove the bias of knowing what the questions are.
Yep.
So that way, when you're listening, you're not thinking, oh, the answer is going to be such and such. You're just hearing things and shouting them out. So I feel this is a more legitimate way to use this method or to use this device because you're not listening for things that would fit.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't have an example of this that I can share, but if you're interested, I would suggest watching the Ghost Finders show from season 11, episode 3. It was recorded at the Peter Oliver House in Middleborough, Massachusetts. About 40 minutes into the episode, Steve Dills and Melody Knapp have a very successful Estes method session. Steve is asking questions and Melody is listening. The questions that Steve's asked are answered, some in English and some in French, but that's fitting because the house was colonial and there were French-speaking people in the house at that time. After they finish, Melody admits to not remembering very much about what she said. She makes it sound like she was in a trance-like state. At one point, Steve was even asked to come back, and his name was called out loud. So it's definitely an interesting 8 minutes to watch. And on shows like that, to have a solid 8 minutes of an interaction like that, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jumping ahead, another modern ITC method is the voice recorder. This is basically the modern day tape recorder version of what we talked about with Jurgensen. I believe the Panasonic DR60 is the gold standard of voice recorders in our industry. If you want the one that everybody wanted, I've never had my hands on one, so I really can't tell you what's so special about it. A used unit would cost at least $1,000 today, and the price goes up from there. I believe it had something to do with the Vox circuitry that only recorded when sounds were detected. The goal with a voice recorder is to capture the elusive Class A EVP or electronic voice phenomena. This is a voice recording that you hear, the voice on the recording that you don't hear in real time. Any recorder, including the apps on a cell phone, have the ability to capture these sounds. I have had some success with this method at Boobies and other places. I do have another example from White Hill that Albert caught. So, here's another one from White Hill. So let me just play this and see if you can hear this one. This one's pretty quiet too, so you may want to turn your volume up, but see what you hear. Okay.
Can you maybe turn the regular color back again for us, please?
Can you set it back to purple? Can you set it back to purple? Did you hear it?
I think so. I got a no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. We were using the tripwire on the floor, and some of the lights had changed colors. And we actually think it was because the batteries were dying, because that's one thing I've noticed when the batteries die in those, it starts going to different colors, and then it'll go to a solid red.
Okay.
So maybe the response was, no, I can't turn it because
it's not me. Right. Yeah.
So again, it was pretty interesting. I want to thank Bert for catching that and sharing the recording with us. It's always nice to have things that we've done when we're sharing things like this. So the next set of devices I'm going to lump together, but some people may be insulted by me lumping these together, is the device. It was a device created by Bill Chappelle, is the Ovilus. Now, the original Ovilus was released in April of 2008, so this device goes back a while. It's a small handheld unit that had a dictionary of 512 words, a full phonetic sound bank, and 7 modes of operation. It was described as a handheld device that takes energy readings and creates speech. So what exactly does that mean? Obviously, I don't know the inner workings of the device, but the general premise is that there are different sensors in the device that takes readings. These readings are processed and turned into a numerical value. The numerical values are then matched to a pre-existing sound bank, and voila, you have spirit communication. So, all these numbers are pre-mapped. So if the change is, 4, it goes to word 4 and pulls that up in a very simplified version. So,
an algorithm.
What's that?
It's an algorithm.
Right. So I didn't know that much about these when I started looking into it, but it's actually a pretty simple way of doing it. The Ovilus has had several models released, and there's a lot of copycat devices out there too. Being in this field, it's really hard to patent something because you have to prove that it works. And how do you prove that you're communicating with the spirit? It goes back to the Ouija board. How do you get that? How did they get that patented and copyrighted? So anyway, the latest device in the Ovilus series is the Ovilus 5. It's actually a Wi-Fi capable device now. So you can have the Ovilus, and then you can have an app on your phone that's repeating what this is doing as well, is my understanding. The product guide states this. The Ovilus 5 is designed to supply you with many different ways to experiment. Dictionary, draw, true, false, and phonetic modes are all designed for ITC research. Proximity mode and energy mode detect energy. Motion modes detect vibration. All three are designed for viewing and understanding changes in the environment the Ivolus 5 detects. Now, I said earlier that I would lump a bunch of these devices together into this category. Most spirit talking devices, computer programs, and phone apps work on the same premise. They measure data, they convert it to a number, and then compare that number to a pre-mapped word bank or dictionary to give you the word. Now, to be clear, I'm not trying to discredit this in any way. Depending on what you believe, the idea of shared knowledge and consciousness could explain how spirits could know how to change the settings to create the word that they want. So, you and I have seen it work. I mean, so I'm going to go to a screenshot of this application. This is Spirit Talker. This is one that we've actually been experimenting with a little bit on our team. If you go into the settings tab, it will actually, and when it's loading, it shows you what it's checking. But if you go into the settings tab, it shows you what devices it's reading and what the readings are on that sensor at the time. It's hard to read, but if anybody has it, just open it up, go to settings, and you can see what it's doing. It's looking at the gyroscope, a couple other things. Now, something that I find interesting is my compass never calibrates. It always says calibration error, but the app still works. So apparently it's not based on all the sensors. I'm not sure. Let's see. Jumping ahead, another program that's out there is called Phasmabox. Now, Jamie, we've used this at the brewery quite a bit.
Yep.
Not
This
sure.
is where the device we were using that heard my name come through at the Haldeman was the
Okay.
Phasma.
Okay. My understanding, this one's Phasmabox Odium by Extreme Software. Now, what I gather is there's a built-in sound bank that the software sweeps through, and something causes it to trigger that sound to play. There's a switch that allows you to go forward or reverse through the banks. There's also a switch that if you're hooked up to internet, it can add an IP radio sweep as well. So I'm not sure what that would gain you, but that's an option. So along with the radio side of the software, there's an Ovilus type display and a photo display. Now, one thing that I find interesting is this software advertises that it will not work on a Mac computer. It's only a Windows PC computer. But I run it on my Mac under a Windows shell, and it seems to work fine. So not sure why it's saying Mac or PC only. The fact that it's using built-in sound banks and that it came up with your name, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of confusion. Some people think that this is actually scanning radio frequencies. It is not. I want to be clear about that. Most computers don't have a radio receiver built into them.
Exactly.
Same with phones. At one point, cell phones did have the capability of a radio receiver, but that was never activated in most phones. And now they've actually done away with that. So phones do not sweep radio frequencies listening for ghost sounds. It's just, like I said, it's a bank in there. So the only way to get that true frequency sweep is through like a spirit box or one of those devices. So a little bit ago, I said I was going to come back to Bocce's method. This is the method that uses white noise from shortwave to radio frequencies to listen for voices. There's a group of investigators today that has started working with this idea, but they've improved on it. The process has been named Staticom Project. Ron Iacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez, along with Tony and Cherie Rathman, Chris Algood, and Audra Keeler have been working on this project, and it uses no radio waves. Instead, the source of the noise is only white noise. The noise is run through a software program that translates the noise into audible words. The process is secret, but it seems to work. I had the pleasure of working with Ron and Lourdes when Jotniks went to Red Mill. I was impressed with the results, and I've become really interested in what they do. So this is a little bit of a teaser because Ron and Lourdes will be joining us on December 19th for the show, and they'll go more into what they're willing to share. I do have a couple of clips that I want to play. Now, these are production files that Ron sent me that they put out for like advertising and stuff. So, it's got a little bit of a build up and it repeats things, but they're interesting clips. So I'm going to play the first one and we'll analyze that after we're done.
Jed, I believe you're muted.
I thought I unmuted myself, but I didn't.
There you are.
So what I was saying is, Ron was doing this session. Ron lives in New Jersey. Tony lives on the West Coast. So at one point it referenced, I am Tony's friend.
Right.
So I just find, it's really interesting. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Man, I have a lot, and not understanding the design and of the equipment is part of this. And I think, for most of us, that's kind of the challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the output, is clear and
Right.
and it's compelling that something actually happened there. And we're seeing a mashup, right? So I don't know where this obviously didn't come through like before, phrase are all in a row.
Right.
But as any content capture, anytime you get anything that's clear like that, you have to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe there's something there that's applicable for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to be able to figure out how we could use it more regularly, for all
Right.
of us as an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to know more.
Yeah. I'm going to play another clip. This is about the same length. Sometimes apparently the spirits like to swear a little bit. So I'm just going to let it roll and then we can talk about it after we're done.
Yes.
Maybe.
Why are you so angry?
Not fair, I heard.
You know what we're doing. Well, is it easier
So that was a little more out there and weird, but it was still definitely communication coming through. Just watching it, I felt like the spirits had lived there and they weren't happy with maybe who was there now.
Yep.
So,
well, it strikes me that if you've passed, but you're still present,
mm-hmm.
and you're aware, you're self-aware, but you're not able to be heard or connected to, and then finally you are, what would you say? I mean,
right.
there's and obviously this comes to personality and cause, and there's a lot of things, but what would be what you want to share immediately? I mean, I think you'd let all the, obviously there's frustration, right?
Mhm.
From it, wanting to be connected with or connect to someone and can't, or at least not be understood. So I could see all of that being a reality.
Mhm.
I'd be curious if there was an opportunity to extend that session beyond to optional times going forward, like we do at the brewery, where we get to go back and back and back.
Right.
I would wonder if the tone would change once the floodgates have calmed,
Right.
and then rationality comes in, perhaps.
And you have a rapport established.
I will tell you this, Chad, and I don't get angry often, but when I do, I don't make complete sentences. I'm just so mad, and it's like a sputter of stuff, So that's what it sounded like to me, from my own experience, at least,
Okay.
to say that's this the floodgate open and they're letting it loose.
Okay. Interesting. So I've got one more here, and this one I find really interesting because it's almost like the people talking weren't really listening to what the spirits were saying, but the spirits who were replying were definitely listening to what was going on in the room. So I mean, we'll play it, and then we'll talk about this one too.
I care about energy that has the ability to influence your dream state, has the ability to influence you as a person, who has
The man. I heard Simon the man. I'm just saying because you're talking about that.
Yeah, I
I
heard
heard
that
Simon the man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, it knows I'm coming for it. It knows. It knows.
Oh yeah, don't.
That's why this stuff I'm wearing is all been blessed. And so
What'd you hear?
they are no protection.
Ooh, that's what you heard?
That's what it sounded like to me. Jesus Christ says something different.
That's right.
So, maybe we'll get a timestamp.
Yeah, so you can see better. But yeah, I hear you.
That one's at 37 minutes. Oh,
Yeah.
this one stopped recording because of the card's full. I have to empty the card in this one.
So, we've already been into one house in which an incubus attacked a woman. That's
What I mean, what can you say on that one? Like, they check the equipment, but then even the next one was, said it attacked her or whatever, and then it's like, well, if that happens, leave.
Yeah, duh.
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
so I am really looking forward to talking to Ron and Lourdes, and I hope they're in the area somewhere at some point, because I
Yep.
definitely want to get back with them. We've talked. Sorry, Amanda's saying sarcastic ghosts. I really want to spend some time with them and talk to them and find out what we can about their thing. So yeah. So after the credits of this show, I'm going to run a trailer for them for their Staticom project. They have a 3-part series on Paraflix that I've watched. It's definitely worth checking out. I think Paraflix is like $40 a year, so it's it's
There's a lot of good content there too.
yeah. So anyway, I'll run that trailer at the end. Jamie, that's pretty much what I've got right now. But what are your thoughts on this stuff?
Well, I just want to be clear. Sarcastic ghosts are my kind of ghosts too. So but the reality is that we don't know who is on the other side when we're out doing an investigation, or even I hate to say this because it's going to freak some people out of my house at least, but in everyday life, just walking through things as we're doing our stuff, we don't know what else is around us. And if there is a legitimate, trustable way of communicating or capturing communication, maybe not even the call and response part we always expect, the direct response, even if we're able to successfully and accurately capture things in our environment that we're not aware of happening, I'm all in, and there's something that's there that's trying to connect, and these clips prove that. And I think even early on with Bachi and some others, that it's clear. It's been going on for a long time. People have been dying forever, right? So
right.
I would be very curious to explore more opportunities in engagement ways. And ITC obviously is a large category of opportunity because of the various means and methods. But if there's a way to do this, I think we should, as a field, we should take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of times people are like, well, I didn't hear that, I heard this, so there's interpretation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the whole of it, there's still something there that's intelligible,
Right.
So if I hear a word and you hear another word, I get that. And I'm never going to argue somebody saying I definitely heard this instead. But the fact is we captured something and it's legit.
Right.
We were able to figure out what something was.
Right.
Whether we we all want Class A, right?
Right.
We want clear, solid sounds and sentences that give us something concrete that we all agree upon. But the reality is, B's and C's exist more often than not. And so the lesser qualities and those are right. Well, there's something, but I'm not sure what it is.
Right.
So
and I think what's important is we take the time, and we're all busy.
Yeah.
But we have to take the time to record what we do, but then it's also analyzing it. If you get a Class B or a Class C, we a lot of times will dismiss it because we don't understand what it says. But
Yes.
what we need to do is we need to hand it off to somebody who has the ability to slow it down or speed it up and take and analyze it a little bit further than just, I got something.
Right.
Because one of the things that Ron and Lordos will talk about is their process actually slows down the live audio. So when they're playing things back, it goes through a filter that cuts it down to a slower speed. So when Ron is talking and you're listening to it, it sounds like he's sleepy or drunk because it's coming through at that slower cadence. But it's what's allowing us to hear the spirit voices. And some of that is if you believe that spirits work at a higher vibration, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Well, this is, I'm going to show my age to say this, but it's like a record on a turntable.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a 45 playing on a 33. It's going to sound, like slow motion sounds.
Right.
Or the reverse too. You put the 33 on the 45, it's going to sound like chipmunks talking. Alvin Simon Theodore. Chipmunks, not wildlife. Real chipmunks. The cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's not unheard of. But and the problem here, Chad, and I agree with what you've said. I completely agree with what you've said. But my rebut to that would be that people don't have access to the professionalism that you imply they could use.
Right.
Although there are several very, very good pieces of software out there that can be purchased, but it has to be purchased. And
right.
And I don't think anybody who's listening to this or watching this, however you're receiving us, is going to argue with when I say that this field is already expensive enough.
Right.
With all the things that we have to acquire and the cost of the places to go to things and, et cetera,
mm-hmm.
it's another thing we have to get. And this is for me, this is a hard spot. And I admit this every time we go out to an investigation. The 3 hours that we're somewhere is 3 hours I have to listen to audio and 3 hours I have to watch a video. And
or it doesn't, it's not 3 hours. Sometimes it's 6 hours, depending.
3 hours, the equal amount of time back on each device and finding the time to do that. And we have a regular cadence of events, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're every other weekend. So with the brewery at least, and then other things that we add in that we get to do on our own as either individuals or as team, it really becomes challenging to sit down and spend the time on top of the daily lives that we all have.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea of when you watch a show, and I think the old school Ghost Hunters was where it clicked for me with the original cast. They all sit down in a hotel room, what looks like the next day, and start reviewing evidence side by side. And one's
Right.
doing one, one's doing another, one's taps, pun intended perhaps, taps the other one on the shoulder
Mm-hmm.
and says, "Hey, listen," and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's clearly something there." I'd like to think they do that for everything, but I also know there's a production crew there going through stuff as well and giving them cute things to say, "Hey, look at this. That's how they got there."
Yeah.
I don't have a production crew.
You don't?
You don't either. You do. You might actually.
No, I don't.
Depends where Emmy is, right? But the idea of it is it's so much harder for us as just average Joes in the field
Mm-hmm.
to get to this.
It is.
And then
Yeah.
it's easy, very easy to dismiss those lower quality EVPs as something else instead of giving it the full attention that you could should you have the better processing software
Mm-hmm.
and more time to commit to get through everything.
Yeah.
So I hate to say this, but I think we're probably throwing away the baby with the bathwater at times.
Yep.
And getting rid of evidence because we don't have the ability, time, and or talent, being software and or editing skills,
Right.
to get to it, to give it the proper attention that it really deserves.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard to say that out loud, but I hate to say it too,
Yeah.
but it's likely a reality for
Yeah.
many in the field,
Well,
including
and
myself at times. I won't argue it.
And Amanda's comment here, it is hard. Like even having the software doesn't make it happen. It's figuring out
Stuff on how to use it. Yeah.
It's figuring out how to use it, what filters to apply when, because it's not always the same. It's like it's almost like a scientific process. I mean, people would flip out if I said that about ghost hunting, but it's like a scientific process where you put it through one set of filters and that doesn't work. Okay, then you put it through the next set of filters, and does that give you something different? And then you put it through the next set of filters, and you keep trying until you find something that works.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's expensive, it's time consuming, and none of us have all that. So, and yeah, a lot of the filters actually get rid of the EVP. So there's ways around that, Amanda. We'll have to get together some point and play, but there's ways to get around that. So it's figuring out which frequencies you want to listen to and which frequencies you want to get rid of.
Yeah. And again, trial and error though to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the last part to that then is time. The time it takes to run all those filters, because you're already spending the time to get to the point where you have it, something worthy of filtering. Then to walk through the processes of all the filtration issues that you could go through, the systems you could go through to get to a better quality, it's even more time. So you're expending and expending and expending, and it is an effort of diminishing returns in most cases, because honestly, you may not have anything anyway. At least nothing that is quantifiably what we would call good to hear.
I mean, and that's what excites me about what Ron and Lourdes are doing, because that is real time. Like they've got they've got it set up, and it's like you play, or you're talking real time, and you're hearing it back real time, and it's really exciting. Like I said, I want to work with them some more. Hopefully they get to a point where they can have something that's locked up that they feel safe to share. And I almost feel like they want it perfect before they start sharing it. And it's, but will you ever get to perfect? So, and Amanda,
perfectly relative though, to the person that plays. So
Amanda was talking about uploading files. You got to upload them, and then there's sometimes converting them. Like it's a process. So
it is. You need a sound engineer on call.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen. So that's our next business venture, Chad. That's it. We're doing it. You're doing it. I'm gonna bill people for it.
Hey, that works. I hate that part of it. So, we got to win the lottery to get there, though, Jamie.
I know. Did you get a ticket?
No, I thought you were doing it.
Shit, I'm in Vegas, man. I'm gonna play a slot machine. Let's go figure it out.
So,
I'll be back in half an hour.
so anyway, what are your thoughts on some of the other things, though, Jamie? Because we talked about the recording stuff. What about the talking, the word devices? What are you?
Well, that's a great question. So, I've been leery all along because I don't know how they work, right? So, and then because we tend to buy into things because they have an instant result, and that gets us excited because we're capturing things. But I really don't. I don't feel comfortable with something until I understand how it works completely, and I'm not tech savvy. So I struggle with some of this to begin with, and this is where I wish Tim was here because he makes Tim Bergen makes things.
Mm-hmm.
He has a way, and a gracious way of making things make sense, at least for me. And I've asked lots and lots of questions about lots of our equipment through the last year or so, 2 years even. And this is one of those things. Now I have the Spirit Talker app, and you're right, we've been testing it. And as we've been grouped together the last couple of times, Kirsten and I, we've had really interesting hits of sentence fragments or sentences that are in context to the conversation we're having. So that excites me because it seems to make something intelligible. Although I'm not, because I can't say that word. But with that, it is a bank. I know that, and I know that certain words now are repetitive after we've used it for 3 or 4 weeks, that are repetitive, but now not quite in context. So it makes me wonder. And
Right.
going to, we all have voice recorders. I do not have the Panasonic super nice model either. Go figure. But even the $30 Best Buy purchase, of some brand, you will get there.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge, of course, is always having it in the right place. I tend to set a recorder down and leave it in a place where I put it, even though I may leave a space. And then, because certainly things can happen when you're not there, right?
Right.
They happen all the time. So, and of course, tagging your equipment, as you're using it, so you know where you are, when you are, that way. So when you do go back and you get backlogged, I've gotten to the point where my recorder is so full that I can't record anymore.
Yep.
And at that point, I'm kind of stuck
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to erase it, because I want to get back to review that evidence, but I can't obviously use it anymore either. So then I go without for that session or that time. So, that's my own fault,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. But, even the cheapy, I'm not saying I have a cheap one, but the cheaper ones, I'm not spending $1,000 on a used Panasonic, once again, another cost.
Right.
I think we can all configure how to use that device. And most of them, of course, you can easily plug it into your device at home, your computer, whatever it is, a desktop, a laptop, and just simply listen to it through the standard audio package that you have. I have a wonder, going back to, I believe it was Bocce, using the radio, the tubed radio,
Mm-hmm.
which they do not exist anymore, right?
Right.
I'm wondering if there was something about that was different than what we are working under now with advanced technology, because that's ancient history to us now.
Mm-hmm.
Tube TV is the same thing. Everybody's got a flat screen on a wall. That was unheard of. And growing up, I was the remote control in my house.
Yep.
Because we didn't have a remote control even. We had to get up and turn a dial, or adjust the antennas because the frequency wasn't coming in right. So I'm wondering if there was something there that is not available to us anymore because we advanced beyond it.
Possibly.
The capture, it's curious, at least. And I don't have enough to go to say I'm probably talking about, but it makes me wonder though, because we moved so far so fast in my lifetime. We've gone so far. I can only imagine what it's going to be another 15, 20 years from now.
Right.
Are we losing something in this spectrum?
It's a good question.
What do you think? You've done a lot of homework here. So,
I mean, like I said, throughout the thing, like the word devices, I'm not discrediting them. I mean, now that I understand it's a sensor giving a reading, tying it to a word. There could, that could be being manipulated through an understanding. I don't know. It's just, again, I find it really interesting that we've had so many things that seem to fit.
Yeah.
And with the iPhone, I know you can look and see what devices are using your microphone. So that's one of the things that I check for is this app using my microphone to pick up the words that I'm saying to try to piece together. And it's not. The ones that I've been using have not been using the microphone, which makes me feel a little better.
Better, right?
I mean, EVPs, the EVP recorder. um, had to throw it out there, Jamie. You knew I would. I've had some interesting things, and what's really interesting is I've had some more interesting things when the device was sitting by itself and we weren't doing a session.
Yep. I agree. I totally agree with that, and that's why I prefer it sometimes.
Right.
So
and sometimes, even sometimes when you're like, walking to and from a session, everybody turns it off. Well, sometimes I've heard that is when you can get some really interesting things, because you're having a conversation with people, and you're getting input from the spirit world that you don't know you're getting, but it's sometimes showing up on tape. I think I alluded to it in one other episode. Is I have a recording from Boobies that I had left the tape recorder, or the tape recorder, the digital recorder, by the girls' room up where
it's
the
called an
bathrooms
EVP recorder, sir.
Yeah.
Get it right.
I left the recorder up by the bathrooms where we think the girls' rooms were.
Mhm.
And I got a conversation with a bunch of, sounds like teenagers, but the room should have been empty because we didn't have any kids there that night. The room should have been empty because it was one of those nights where we had 2 groups and not 3 groups.
Okay. Small crowd. Okay.
So there shouldn't have been anybody in. Unfortunately, I don't have a camera in the area to know that there weren't some kids upstairs at the hotel that walked through.
Sure. There's somebody out on the fire escape or something outside the door. Right. There's an access door there.
So, and that, that's the other thing is, it's great to record it, but you got to have that documentation, that
the secondary proof.
Yeah. So, but it was clear as day. It was, and it sounded like people walking up to the recorder and then walking away. It was that Doppler effect where, so again, where it was, it doesn't make sense with the layout of the room now. So, I've got things that make me lean both ways, but I don't know. I definitely think, this is a way of communicating. I think it's something that's much easier than developing the skills to do it as a medium or things like that, because it's something that we all have access to. Maybe expensive, but we have access to it. So,
but it's another thing, right? Put it on my bill.
So yeah.
Well, I want to ask you a question quick then. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say in the spirit, that's so tacky, in the direction of working an EVP session. So you've got a recorder down on something, you're doing call and response, and we consider a burst session then. So you record for a moment, minute, 2, 3, whatever the predetermined time is. You stop at that point, you rewind and listen to what was recorded to see if there was clear evidence captured. Mm-hmm. What is your thought there as a tool to, should a good capture be found, to continue the conversation or engage somehow? We do these things, don't get me wrong. So it's not like it's an unheard of thing, but we don't do them all that often, maybe as often as we could or should. But, I was reviewing something, I was watching something the other day, and, they were just doing these every couple minutes, they were just doing bursts. And, I'm asking you a question, but I'm going to answer my own question because I have to for myself. But I appreciate, I guess I appreciate the idea, but I don't know if I appreciate the practice, because it does 2 things. One is it gives you that window, right, which is good. But then it gives you the downtime of the need to rewind it and then listen through it again. And then if you think you have something, and then you have to listen to it 2, 3 times, you probably, and again, you're just doing this in real time. So you're not able to jazz it up any, should you have something faint. And then you may have lost the momentum that you've
Right.
had. And I'm not knocking it by saying it that way, but it is, then you want to pick up upon
Mhm.
whatever you may clearly have captured, but by that point the moment's passed.
Right.
So I think it's great for evidence finding, but I don't think it's good for conversation engagement
Right.
because of that.
Right. I
Just
agree
one of
with
your
you.
thoughts.
I agree with you. Burst sessions are always hard. I think they should be done. But I also think while you're doing a burst session, you should be running another recorder.
Fair. Okay.
So if in that way, and that's like when we were at White Hill last time, Chris did several burst sessions, and I let my recorder run, and then I have to go back and listen. There's some things that happened while he was playing back his stuff that I'm questioning as to what was that a sound from his recorder? Was that a sound from something else? And it's coming through it. So
Got it. Okay.
but I think that's the way to do it. Is yes, burst sessions are good, but you should always run a recorder under your burst reply. Does that
Fair
make
enough.
sense?
Yep. And it's as it goes with our sessions, there usually are two of us. I don't know. We all have the same amount of equipment at times, because some of us only have flashlights. David Armini, but the flashlight's a great tool.
Mhm.
I'm not knocking it.
It's
So,
not ITC though. It is not.
It is old school.
So,
It's pre-ITC.
yeah.
But what is technically, right? I mean, it's an instrument, right?
It is, but you're not getting, you're not getting words or
Well, you're communicating, and it's transmitting across things.
So yeah,
I won't argue too hard. I won't argue that one too hard, but I will put an argument against for it.
And I put up Heather's comments that she was definitely getting stuff walking between sessions, and she got her Kira's name when they were moving from one location to another. So, and we all know how Tim feels about flashlights.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a sore subject. Yeah, I appreciate him for it.
Yep.
He's a smart man.
He is. He is.
Yes,
we have great respect for Tim, and one of these nights we're gonna get Tim on here, and he can.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
we got to book that one. Actually, we had it scheduled back in the day, and I don't remember what it was, but something came up.
He had to go to Florida.
That was travel, and then there was a slip of time, and here we are.
So anyway,
we'll get him on.
Yeah, we can't say is ITC paranormal or not, but you believe in it, Jamie? You have faith in it?
I have some faith in it. Again, I have more faith in the things that I can understand and explain to others, because inevitably, Chad, somebody's as a guest with us, and a device is activated and engaging, and something comes across, and they want to know how it worked, right? And that's the first question we think whether we ask it out loud or not, like, how'd that happen?
Right.
And without the knowledge to be able to explain, I don't feel comfortable saying the product works 100% or it's 100% accurate. I just don't, because there could be variables, and that's my only rub here. It really is. Otherwise, I think we have methods and means that are helpful to us in the field, and what we all want are answers, right? We want answers to whom we may be dealing with, what we may be dealing with, how they got to where they are. There's so many more questions than answers, and if we can start to find ways to get answers, I'm all for it. I think it's great.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a tool we got to keep using and keep leaning on and keep learning more about. So,
well, but they're also steady Eddie industry standard tools. A voice recorder is in everybody's toolbox, right? Most of us have access to a device that fits under. We all have cell phones, so therefore we can have apps, and most are free, some are not. The Phasma box is a download thing, so there's a cost to it. But once you buy it, you have license for several devices, so you can get it, split the cost among a team. It works better that way, perhaps than it does a straight up cost. So you can defer some of these things and have more tools. And anything that has that runs on power, you got to make sure you have enough battery. But that's
and backup batteries, because when we were at Whitehill,
start draining, right?
Something was draining our batteries that night.
Yep.
Like all of us experienced that. So.
That's amazing, especially when it's a team experience instead of just a one-off.
So, and actually, Kyle,
failure.
In a follow up with Kyle, he said that's been happening quite frequently here of late.
Wow.
So who knows? So, we should probably wrap this up, Jamie. I didn't realize we've gone over an hour already.
Dude, we could go a lot longer. I know, right? This is a great topic. I'm so happy you came up with it.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's been fun. So let me throw up some information about what's coming up.
All right. Wow. Well, this Saturday, right? This big day, because we got the guy that did this book. And thanks for loaning. This is Chad's, by the way. It has this, and this is what's going to happen. Come Saturday evening, get a copy, get it autographed and signed by Daryl. I read this on the flight in, and I had like 6 hours. So this is not a hard read by any means, but it's an intriguing read. His experience going out to the House of Wills in East Cleveland, a property that has had a gazillion uses through many years. It's got quite a storied history, been idled for quite a while. And Daryl had a night that he will never forget. And he has a fantastic way of, he's a very personable dude. And you'll find that if you've met him, you know that already. But if you haven't, you'll find it Saturday evening and hopefully some other time you get to meet him. But he takes his personable approach to people, to the story. And that made it the easy read. I know him, so therefore I read the book in his voice in my head. I was reading. This is weird, really weird. But he's coming in Saturday evening from 7:30 to 9. He'll be at the Bottling Works at the brewery, and then I believe he's going to join us at least for a while for the investigative process that starts shortly after. So I'm not sure he's going to be able to stay, but let's see, have an update that I don't have.
No. At least from 9 to 10, he'll be upstairs for more of a private meet and greet with whoever. If you have a ticket, and last time I looked, there were definitely tickets available.
There's a few.
If you have a ticket, he will be there for more of a one-on-one conversation without the big crowd of the Bottling Works. So. Yep.
So, and that's the investigation follows at 10 o'clock. The normal time for us to start 10:30 actually, and then we'll go through the evening and hit all the hot spots of the brewery, and then there's only 2 sessions left the rest of the year, in the 2nd and 16th of December. So tickets are still available for those nights as well, but they're starting to fill up. If you have a paranormal enthusiast in your family and your friend circle, this is a great Christmas gift as well. So it doesn't have to be in these events, but it can be done as a gift certificate. But it's really a fun gift to give people. I gave somebody a gift of one of these events one time, and they never left us alone. And now they're on the. Now it's you, dude. It's you.
I know, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And here we are, all these years later, right?
Yep.
So, it is a fun time. So we say fun, but we take it seriously as well. Yeah. So, it's always a learning experience for all of us when we approach an investigation. Guests bring a lot of energy and good questions and experience of their own to the table. So we all learn something through the process. So we hope to see you out there.
Yep. And let's go ahead and here's the tentative schedule for the next couple
Subject
weeks.
To change, right? Yeah, we just talked about this.
Yep.
So next week I'm going to cover Nazca lines, and a quick teaser for this. Southern Peru has a desert area, a very dry and arid place at least. And back in the 1920s, this area of what are now called Nazca lines, which are from a native civilization that was there. These are basically kind of like petroglyphic elements that were drawn into the ground via rocks and oyster shells and things of that nature that predominantly display graphic designs of things in nature, animals, clouds, flowers, all kinds of different things. There's several hundred of them over this massively wide area that, because of the arid element in the space, have been preserved through time. They haven't, there's not a lot of water there, so the erosion did not happen. The sand, that is present in the area is blown off by wind because it's a flat, dry area space. We really did. I think it was the 1940s even. We didn't really understand how many were there because then we started flying over the area and getting it all from the air. So I'm going to talk about it a bit, how it happened, what the belief of why they're there, and show a lot of the graphic imagery of it all, so we have a better understanding. But it's a fascinating thing. It's something as I was going through my young adult life, my collegiate career was trying to become an archaeologist, and this space captured my attention immediately, and it has never left me. So if you'll indulge me a little bit on this one, I will be happy to talk to you about it and see what we think.
Good. Okay.
And Skinwalker, dude, yay! Finally, right? This is exciting. And having Steve Dills come in, he's been there, done that. That's going to be super cool. And a near and dear thing, of course, to us regionally is the Jersey Devil. That's going to be pretty cool. You can't get through the holiday season without Krampus, right? So this is where the change in time may come. Apparently, and Chad informed me of this before the episode, but it looks like December 5th we may switch because that is Krampus Day. There's a day for everything, right? So why not? And then wrapping up the year, or pretty close to the end of the year, the Staticon project, as we talked about, having Ron and Lourdes join us and give us the full scoop on their project. So, which looks really, really exciting. I'm looking forward to this one too. So
yeah. So
and then it'll be the new year before we know it.
Right? It will.
Wow.
Yeah, we haven't talked about whether we're doing the week between Christmas and New Year. We'll figure that out and let everybody know. But we'll see. But
we might have to do a greatest hits episode.
We could, yeah. So
we'll see.
So yeah, and then the only other thing is our social medias.
The usual stuff. Yep. Yeah, and please, as always, we're always looking for content and interest that you guys have, for episodes to come up. We've got a schedule, we've got some plans at least, but they're all flexible. If there's a hot topic or an interest peaked, from anything out there in the world that you come across, let us know. Drop us a comment. A lot of you know how to reach us directly. Feel free to. We're happy to indulge and move into that topic as well and get on our schedule. So. Just a little time to do a little research, just a little bit anyway, so we sound like we know what we're talking about. But we'll be happy to jump in.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. Well, any parting thoughts?
Man, another one in the books. What was this, number 3,000 or so?
30. This was 30.
30. We look good for 30.
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah.
The last time you said that.
There it is, episode 30 up in the corner. So.
Episode 30. All right.
So I'm going to roll the outro, and like I said, at the end of our credits, if you have time to stick around, it's a 3-minute trailer for their show. Check it out. If you get a chance to check it out on Paraflix, great. Have some background before they come and do our show on the 19th.
Yep.
So
you got a month to get some homework done.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, Jamie, should I roll it? You got anything last
Good,
minute?
Chad. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Yep, here we go.
My name is Tracy. Can you tell me your name?
Something new that I haven't seen ever in the paranormal one. There's nothing about this on TV or anything, so I figure, let's give it a shot.
Ma, if you're here, if you have cookie with you, can a cookie box for me?
I couldn't get radio reception or cell phone reception. There's literally no signal being broadcast from the tower that gets into this part of the earth.
Bachi.
That was clear.
Did I just hear Ron Yacovetti?
Can you say Edgewater if you know who I am? I heard it.